which the Earth belongs, from the smallest to the largest. The first one is the solar system. I know.
No.
Yep.
Did you see what you did on the project paper? Did you say you put name in name?
No, I didn't. Solar system. The next one is the Milky Way galaxy. The next one is the Virgo supercluster, which is a group of galaxies. And then lastly, there is the universe.
Are we talking observable or complete?
Yes.
Because multiverse theory could still exist.
We're just talking about what we know. Multiverse is just an idea. We don't know that it exists. So, solar system, Milky Way galaxy, Virgo supercluster, and then the universe. Obviously, the ones that you know are the solar system and the galaxy. The supercluster is just a group of galaxies that exist around us that seem to have similar trajectories and motion through the universe. Okay.
We're going to see some of the cooler superclusters at some point?
Nope. Read the overall layout of the solar system, look at the picture for the solar system itself, and make connections about the order of the planets from the nearest to the sun to the furthest from, as well as the position of the asteroid and the Kuiper belts. All right, let's see if we can do these together. I'm not going to have you read this part. This part we're going to do together. Okay. Cole, tell me, what is the closest planet to the sun? No, that's a good guess, though. Andrew? No, it's not as good a guess, but it's all right. Yeah?
Mercury.
Mercury is the closest one. An excellent start here. Mercury's first. All right. Who thinks they know what's next? Okay, Elizabeth.
Venus.
Huh? It is Venus. All right, next. Jess. Nice. Okay, next. Mars.
This one's going to be a tricky one if y'all don't pay attention.
You need to calm down. Okay. Yeah. Asteroid belt.
That's not a planet.
But it's on the list.
Oh, my bad.
You're fine.
My favorite planet, asteroid belt.
The asteroid belt's your favorite planet?
Yeah.
All right, after the asteroid belt, Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter comes. Next.
Saturn.
Yep.
Yep.
And the next one is?
Uranus.
Uranus.
That's a weird way of saying it.
It's the only way teachers can say it, really, to be
the only
honest.
mature way to say.
And then, all right, after Uranus?
Neptune.
Yep, Neptune. Which leaves only one thing left,
Pluto.
the Kuiper belt.
Wait, is Pluto not a planet?
So Pluto is not a planet. Some of you know this, some of you may not know this.
Anymore.
Pluto is what's called a dwarf planet. We will talk about Pluto. We will talk about the dwarf planets a little bit. But Pluto is not counted as a planet. So there are only 8 planets in the solar system. There are 5 named, known dwarf planets. There's several other smaller ones that we sometimes constitute that sometimes are just big asteroids. But the Kuiper belt is the last thing that we'll talk about. With the exception of one, all the dwarf planets are Kuiper belt objects. Pluto included is a Kuiper belt object. Okay? And if you're wondering what the Kuiper belt is, the Kuiper belt is just a second asteroid field. So you probably thought the solar system only had one. The solar system has 2. So there's 2 asteroid belts. the asteroid belt and then the Kuiper belt, which they had to give a name because they couldn't call it asteroid belt 2. That'd just be lame. Okay.
Aren't those colder though? They're like
What?
more
It's ice mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll talk about that. All right. So some general information. This is going to blow your mind. You're never going to believe what I got for you here.
The sun is,
And I know you think I can't possibly. I'm really going to blow your mind.
the sun is what keeps us in order.
That's right. I have a PowerPoint.
Whoa.
I know. I made an actual PowerPoint. All right, so here's the order of everything. I have several of the dwarf planets are listed on there too. Ceres is the only dwarf planet that's not in the Kuiper belt. All the rest of them, Pluto is like on the front edge of the Kuiper belt, and then Eris is one. Eris is actually the reason why Pluto's not a planet anymore, so you can blame Eris.
Because Eris is bigger.
Yeah, it's got too many properties that are similar but different. So here's some things. First of all, the age is approximately 4.6 billion years. That's how old this is the part B, general information about the solar system. So 4.6 billion years old. Yeah.
How do we know that?
Based off of observations of samples that we've taken from different things in the solar system, from Mars and from Earth and from asteroids and things that have crashed in from other things. We can take rock samples to figure out how old they are. Yeah. Also, we can look at the age of the sun. Based off of the sun's lifespan and looking at other stars, we can figure out about how old the sun is too. Okay. Next thing is there are 8 planets. No, Pluto is not a planet. No matter how bad you want it to be, it's not. So we have 8 planets. There are 2 asteroid belts, the asteroid belt and the Kuiper belt. There is one sun. I know that sounds super obvious, but there are most solar systems actually have more than one sun. Only about, well, I should say this. One star is the most common, but more systems have multiple stars than have one. Yeah.
I never noticed this before. Is there a correlation between like why after the asteroid belt
Yes.
it gets so big?
Yeah. We're going to talk about that today.
Oh, okay.
Look at you thinking about where things are going. But yes, there is a reason for that. All right, there are 5 dwarf planets. Again, there's other ones too, but those are generally categorized as asteroids or stuff. There's some that are being categorized, but there's 5 main ones. There's one that's further out. I can't pronounce it. Maki Maki is the one I haven't talked about yet.
What does everybody call it? Maki Maki or Make Make?
I've always heard Maki Maki, but I'm assuming people have said Make Make before.
Okay.
1/1000th of a light year to the edge of the Kuiper belt. We usually think of the Kuiper belt as being the edge of the solar system. There's something that's out past that, which we'll talk about when we get to the project part. But it's something that's more of a theory than an observable thing. So the Kuiper belt is usually what we think of as the edge of the solar system. Okay. So here's what I want you guys to do now. I want you to look at the reading part now. Connor, give me one thing about terrestrial planets.
They have different atmospheres.
Good. Well, it's not how you spell that word. Different atmospheres. So let's start with this. They all have atmospheres, but they vary from different thicknesses. Venus's is crazy dense. Earth's is nice. Mars is thin. Mercury's is almost non-existent. It does exist. We can measure it. It's barely there. Okay? It's hardly hanging on to anything, but it is there. Austin, give me something else about the terrestrial planets.
Earth is like the only planet with oxygen and water on the surface.
Good.
Earth is the only one that's got oxygen and liquid water. All the other ones do not. Oxygen in the atmosphere, liquid water. Mars has water vapor in the atmosphere, but no liquid water on the surface. Venus is just a toxic dump of stuff, sulfur and carbon dioxide and things that you don't want. Mercury is light amounts of hydrogen, and that's about it. So that is, yeah, Earth is the only thing. Earth's the only one that's habitable. We kind of all knew that, but that, like, it's important to know that it is the only place where we find that stuff. Rowan, what's something else?
Mercury has a vacuum like an atmosphere?
Yep, so we talked about the atmosphere a little bit, but yes, it's basically a vacuum.
Yeah.
Tyler, what else about the terrestrial planets?
They have different rates of spin.
Yeah, different rotations, yep. Okay, so it mentions Earth and Mars are both roughly 24 hours. Mars is like 28, maybe, I think. 25? There we go. Mars is close, but not quite the same. Mercury and Venus take months to rotate around. I think it's Mercury. We'll talk about this when we get to the group. A day on Mercury is longer than a year on Mercury. So a day is how long it takes to spin around once.
Oh, no.
It takes longer to spin around once than it does to go around the sun.
Okay.
So one day, so if you lived on Mercury, you would actually live more years than you do days.
If you could live it all until you...
Well, correct, yeah.
You'd
Clearly.
melt into a pile of flesh.
Good. So they have different rotations. That's another big difference. Tristan, what else? What else is different?
So, Earth and Mars are the only ones with moons.
Good. Earth and Mars are the only ones with moons. And if I'm being honest, Mars is cheating. Its moons are just asteroids. Its moons are just asteroids. But they are... Shh, let me talk. I know you're excited, but let me talk. Okay? So it does have moons. Mars has 2 of them, but they're just giant. They're just giant asteroids. And they're not even that big asteroids. There's bigger asteroids out there. But it does have moons. Mercury does not have any. Venus does not have any. So moons are actually uncommon if you think about it with the terrestrial planets, which makes Earth's moon really interesting because not only is it large, it's the 4th largest moon in the solar system, but it's around a small planet. It's close, it's what, 1/10 the size of the Earth? It's small, but it's large compared to the size of the planet it orbits. So we'll talk more about the moon because the moon is super interesting. Good. Some other things too. The surface conditions are very different. Mercury is really heavy cratered. Mercury has a lot of craters. Venus has a ton of volcanic activity. Earth obviously has water and plants and things like that. Mars has the largest volcano in the solar system and the largest canyon in the solar system. So Mars has a lot of interesting things about it too. It just doesn't have any life on it now, or at least doesn't have any life now. May have had at previous times. So let's talk about the terrestrial and the Jovian planets.